And good morning. Good morning from Riverton. And just making sure that we are becoming on the air here. Are we getting on the air? Hello? And there we go. Good morning from Riverton. I am the Michi. And it's been a long time. It's been a while since we've chatted on here. And I know I've got to get back to a normal schedule of these talks. Unfortunately, with everything going on with the COVIDs and all this other stuff that's going on, um, you know, things have been a little busy. A little busy. We've been pretty busy on the regulatory front. We got quite a few things in the pot right now on the regulatory front that we've been working on here. And for those of you who are regular followers of the REC Facebook page that's being shown up there right now, this is something that you should hopefully be very well aware of. Now, of course, a lot of the stuff that we work on over here doesn't directly affect LPFM, but it does affect things that are very important to us here, including access to spectrum, rural issues, and such. So, REC is more than just LPFM. I know some people in the past have criticized me because, I am posting stuff and we're having to deal with telecom issues and stuff like that. And they're like, stick with LPFM. And it's like, well, you don't know REC that well, do you? So yeah, these are the things that that I get to deal with over here. The chat is open, and I do ask that people do please participate in the chat. The chat is available there, so if you want to participate, just feel free to drop your questions, your comments, what have you, into the chat right there, and it will show up and we'll see it. So let's get some updates here on some of the things that we've been working on here, as far as various rulemaking proceedings and such that's going on. 19-310, which is the broadcast duplication rule. Originally, the original rule was that on commercial stations, two commonly owned stations that operate basically in the same area can't duplicate their programming on two different stations more than 25% of the time. The FCC, and as part of Chairman Pai's media modernization, had proposed to repeal altogether. But there were comments that were made by REC and as far as others that opposed the elimination of the duplication rule for FM, but still allow the repeal to go forward for AM. And the reasonings on AM have to do with the fact that AM stations right now are in pretty tough shape compared to many FM stations. If you look at the ratios, you'll see that it is more of the problem is on the AM side. AM is having to deal with a lot of technical limitations because of noise, because of modern day conveniences and such. Also, too, because of MA3 digital radio, HD radio, that was recently adopted, and still we still don't have rules on it yet. And those are the reasons why REC supported repealing on AM but not FM. And initially, the commission agreed, and they actually cited REC quite a bit in the draft order. Basically stating that REC pretty much hit the issues right on the head as far as why a repeal would be necessary on AM and why it's not necessary on FM. And that's the way we went into it 3 weeks before the meeting to vote on it. And a day before the sunshine cutoff, the sunshine cutoff is 1 week before a scheduled meeting. And as soon as you hit the sunshine cutoff, nobody can talk to any FCC staff member with decision-making ability to sway a decision. It's what we call an ex parte presentation. Can't do that within 1 week of a meeting. NAB came in on the very last day that you could do something, and went to members of the majority side of the House. Basically, went to O'Reilly and Pai, I believe, and made this case because of COVID. Because of COVID, we had to just repeal for FM. And of course, when that reached the meeting, watching the presentation and hearing that, yeah, this is going to be a repeal for both AM and FM, that just that's obviously that sent surprises to me, because that's not what we originally thought was going to be happening 3 weeks ago. And it resulted in a couple of very vocal dissents from the minority side of the House, including Rosenworcel and Starks. And REC was contacted by the recording industry, by recording industry interests, and this would be the Music First Coalition, which is a group of you've got the RIAA, you've got the ASCAP, CSAC, BMI, the unions are involved, the AFM, SAG-AFTRA, they're all involved in this. They're all involved in this Music First Coalition. Them and the Future of Music Coalition, which is a similar group that represents musicians and recording artists and artists and composers, and really they're pushing for royalties and trying to get the radio royalties increased. And we went into this and saying, look, we have some common ground here. We have some common ground on this specific issue, which is the issue of the duplication. We're still pretty far apart where it comes to compensating for performing rights, but we're pretty close on this issue. So let's work, let's work together on this issue. And I agreed to work together on this specific issue. And so we filed a petition for reconsideration on the FM repeal, and this was actually prepared out of house, not in house like most REC stuff is done. This was one of the very few filings that was ever prepared in the name of REC out of house. And I think that the attorneys did a really good job on the presentation. And the points that we're making is that the issue around the COVID is a temporary issue, and that there's already a waiver process already available for applicants to for stations to say, hey, we got COVID issues here. We need to duplicate some of our programming, for news and information and other officialness. And of course, we're now well into this point where I think radio has defined itself. I think radio has finally defined its role in the pandemic. And we're seeing a lot of return to normal kind of things. I mean, we didn't see that in the first month or two, but really where radio is hurting right now is in the commercial advertising on the commercial side and the underwriting on the non-commercial side. We see that. We definitely do see that. And it's affecting everybody. It's affecting us. It's affecting, it's affecting REC. We're not getting a lot of work here. We're not getting a lot of applications being filed. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens going into to the next year, especially with the window, which we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. The other issue that they raised is whether the ex parte presentations that were made by NAB, the FCC's decision to do an about face right at the very last minute, whether that violated the Administrative Procedures Act, or whether that's or whether that violated some other past cases, past cases of government changing things at the last minute. So those are the issues that are being worked on right now under that, and we've got our crack legal team working on that one right now, and pretty much REC's involvement right now with 19310 is we're pretty much reviewing everything, rubber stamping it, making sure that everything looks good. Again, that's up to those attorneys to do the work on that one, but we are definitely behind that rule, and because really what that's going to mean is that it gives the leverage for a broadcast station to just say, hey, we're out of content, we're just going to run the same thing on 2 channels. Why would they want to do that? Maybe one's got a slightly better contour to the west and one's got a slightly better contour to the east. I don't know, but for some reason the commission, the NAB seems to be very hell bent on making this happen. All right, onward to the window. As you all know, the filing window for non-commercial stations is coming up, and I know we've talked quite a bit online, and we've talked quite a bit here regarding the window and what's going to happen with what's going on. At this time, we still do not have a we don't know when the window is going to be, and one of the reasons is because there is a proceeding going on right now, and that is MB docket 20-343, and that raises the question on the application caps. In 2007, we had an application cap of 10 applications that could be filed in the NCE window. Now, of course, in 2007, there was still a lot of availability, including some urban availability in the non-com band. So there were a lot more opportunities for new stations, where in this year, we've done the studies, we've posted the maps, we've got the interactive system up on board, and it's pretty much giving the indication that the top 100 markets are out. We did find one little speck in the East Bay in San Francisco, like around, I think San Ramon, right around that area. I think we found a spot where we might be able to squeeze a 100-watt station. I'm not sure. But, we did see some little droplets on the map. But overall, this is not an urban expedition this time around. This is going to be mainly rural, with the top 100 markets out. There's going to be little spots here and there, but like I said, if you're thinking about Orlando, if you're thinking about Dallas, Fort Worth, or Houston, or Los Angeles, the places where Phoenix, the places where I'm actually getting people asking for this at, it's not going to happen. Now, northern Arizona, Prescott, Flagstaff, yeah, perhaps. You've got chances up there. You've got chances in other places. The Florida Panhandle may have some opportunities. Key West, you want to put an NCE down in Key West? Yeah, you could probably do it. There'll probably be a huge MX for it, but you'll probably do it. So the issues come up regarding the application caps. And of course, now the FCC is pushing the 10 application cap. The FCC is currently in a comment period. Actually, they just finished the comment period. We're now in replies. But the FCC did ask, do you support the 10 application limit? Now, REC, we've had some discussions with this. I've been on a couple of calls and had conversations with other broadcast advocates and those who are kind of like-minded, but with REC and what we do here. And the questions have come up is, where do you stand on this issue of the application caps? Some say they wanted 5, some say they wanted 2. And keeping in mind that I kind of, I like to see things like right down the middle. Some wanted 2, some wanted 10. Let's go with 5. So I think 5 was a reasonable number to do. It's half of what we did in 2007. But then again, I think half of the spectrum is no longer available that was available in 2007. So I mean, I think it's a good, it's a good happy medium. So that's what we had proposed. We had proposed a 5 cap. The only other organization so far to have commented in this proceeding is Educational Media Foundation, the K-Love Air One folks. And this is what happens when people don't read my stuff. They get this idea that something, they get this warped idea, and they absolutely did no research into this, into these comments. And I think if they had, they probably would have. They would have done it differently. This is what EMF wants to do. They say we want the 10 cap is fine. They didn't say that in 2007. They wanted no cap at all in 2007. But in 2020, the cap is fine. However, if there's any applications that exceed the 10 cap, can be filed as long as they are serving areas that are outside of Nielsen audio markets. Now, of course, they did not define whether that's like the top 50, the top 100, the top 150, or just everything up to like 265 or wherever Nielsen is at right now. And then they had the audacity to say that in order to be considered as serving the county or serving the market, that the 60 dB signal of the proposed station has to cover at least 50% of the market. And that doesn't work either. That just because here's the problem. And okay, so here's the thing: is for anything that is outside of what is a urban market, going into the rurals, that they can exceed the 10 cap as long as the application filed is not mutually exclusive. Okay, I'm fine with that. If there's no competing applications, that's fine. Or can be settled, and it could be made singleton through modification or settlement after the MX group has been declared. That I've got a problem with, a huge problem with, because I'll tell you why. The commission's policy on MX sucks. It really does, and I will just say that right out hand. It really, the FCC's had bad policy in regards to the MX, because the problem with MX, of course, is mutually exclusive competing applications. The FCC can't grant two applications because they'll interfere with each other. That's what MX is. And the problem with what the FCC does is that they will take all the applications that are mutually exclusive with with something else, with another application, and they'll put them in a group. Then if there's a third application, if it's mutually exclusive with, let's say, the second application they looked at, but not mutually exclusive with the first, well, guess what? They're bunched into that group too, and that can just daisy chain out. We saw an MX group in 2007 that spanned the entire state of Hawaii. The problem with the FCC's process is that it is a winner-take-all. So if you have 40 applications that are in an MX group, unless those applicants can voluntarily find somewhere else to go, then the group, then what will happen is that group will, whatever's left over, if there's 39 or 38 applications, only one is going to win if it goes through the point system. And there's even an override to the point system. It's called the 307B fair distribution process, where if a station is proposing to provide first or second educational service, educational defined as 88 to 92, 88.1 to 91.9, first or second 60 dB signal in an area, and there's more than 2,000 persons, then guess what? We've got priority here. They override everybody else that applied and didn't have, that were more, and more in a situation where they were served by other stations. I really think that EMF is the problem with the problem with what EMF is proposing is what EMF is proposing is that their overage application will become part of the MX group to begin with. So so you have maybe like 5 or 6 other applications. And then maybe, and they may be mutually, a couple of them might be mutually exclusive with each other. Maybe 1 or 2 are singleton and, otherwise. But it's this one application for this one overage application for a major national NCE operator that's going to turn all these into an MX group or make the MX group much larger than it should be. And if we dismiss that one, well, guess what? We still have all these other stations that are still in the MX group. All but one is going to get dismissed. Now, the ones that are singleton may get out of it, but what the FCC will not do, there's 2 things that they will not do that need to be done. First, they will not allow the creation of new MX groups after the window, after they've declared MX groups. So if you have 2 applications in the West, 2 applications in the East, and then 1 in the center that is mutually exclusive with the applications in the East and West, now you've got this huge MX group that spans a large distance. Even if that one in the middle is completely taken out, you still have one MX group technically. And normally the FCC will look at that. We saw this happen in LPFM. In one of the MX groups. It was MX group number 40, I believe it was. It was the 99.1 group in Los Angeles between Simi Valley and Venice. And a couple of inserts were moved to other channels. And when we tried to, we reached an agreement with these 2 stations to aggregate the points. And we said, look, they're far enough away, they could be grantable. The FCC wouldn't let us do that. And they said, no, you need a timeshare. Okay, so we're going to stick a timeshare in there. So we could see where the FCC's attitude is on MX is that, if you have 15 stations and they're all being joined in, and one station is joining these two clusters together, and if that one application is pulled out, then yeah, you're going to have two smaller MX groups perhaps, but the FCC won't do that. The other thing the FCC will not do is secondary grants, where if exactly what we were just talking about, if there's several stations in an MX group and one gets chosen and that kind of orphans another station that would be otherwise grantable, the FCC will not grant that. They were in the MX group. It's winner take all. It's a horrible policy. How it could be worked better, I'm not sure how it can be much better. I mean, there are ways that this could be done. The first thing the FCC needs to do is they need to be able to create multiple MX groups. If 1, 2, and 4 and 5 are, if 1 and 2 are mutually exclusive and 4 and 5 are mutually exclusive, but 3 is mutually exclusive to 2 and 4, and 3 drops out after the MX groups have been declared, then 1 should be competing with 2, 4 should be competing with 5, not 1 competing with 2, 4, and 5 for points. That's a problem with the system. We tried to get that. We tried to get the. Actually, it was not me, but it was. It was Michael Cousins and Alan Korn who tried to get the issue of the MX groups, the secondary grants. We tried to get that cleared in the 19-3, and they even went to recon on it, and the FCC said no. So gets you wondering, who should be on the Federal Communications Commission? Really, we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. The other rulemaking issue that we are actually, there's a couple more rulemaking issues that we're currently following. Let's get into them really quickly. 20-270 is the application fees. Now in broadcast, this would only apply to commercial stations, and the FCC is looking at changing the fees to go to a more to a more cost-based structure. For commercial interests, some of the costs will be going up, some of the costs will be going down. Two things to note. First of all, the FCC is going to be, for the first time, proposing to add a filing fee for for FM translators for minor modifications. Currently, there's no filing fee on the modification construction permit application. They'll get you $170 on the license, but not during the application process. The FCC is proposing an application fee up front, and then the fee for the license to cover. This will stop some gamesmanship, in my opinion, and I don't have any objection to that. The other, I just drew a blank there. So we got the other, and the other one is the. That's right. The other one is the Form 175. Was it 175 or 159? 159. The auction form. The FCC is proposing a fee in the $500 range to participate in the auctions, at the full service broadcast radio auctions. And yeah, I do support that. Actually, I support it even further to say that the fee should apply for each construction permit that somebody is wanting in the window, or like one commenter said, and will likely align with them, is that there should be the $500 and something fee for the filing of the form the 175 form, and then for every single construction permit, because you specify which construction permits you're going to be bidding on in the auction. Each one should carry a fee, and they're proposing $100, and I support that, and there's a reason for that, and that is the fact that if the FCC opens an auction window to file these short form applications. And you can file as either a commercial or non-commercial entity. If you file as a commercial entity, then you're participating in the auction. If you file as a non-commercial entity, then you can't participate in the auction. However, if your application is the only application in there, or the only applications filed for a particular construction permit are non-commercial designated applications, and you can't change. You can't change it. Once you file, once you say you're commercial, you can't change it to non-commercial after the fact. If that's the only application, then the application will fall under it will fall under the non-commercial rules, and it will get granted to the non-commercial organization with no fees. That's how, I mean, that's how that works. So, you know, we see a lot of speculators go out and they'll go ahead and they'll file a Form 159 because, you know, there's no fee behind that. So the 175. I get these two forms confused. Form 175. They'll file a 175 and they'll just go ahead and specify a whole bunch of construction permits. And then they'll file the 301s to go with it. You know, for the short form construction permits. And there's nothing to it. And so now they've blocked the ability for a non-commercial applicant who may be really interested in getting this channel, but does not have the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to participate in the auction. So it's what we call the long shot NCE aspect of a commercial FM filing window. Now, of course, a non-commercial entity can file commercial in the window if they're budgeted and if they're funded and resourced enough to actually follow through with the auction and pay for the auction, pay for the channel. And then what they can do is once they get from that point on, once they file their long form, they can declare themselves non-commercial, which basically takes them out of having the big $3,000 plus filing fee for a commercial construction permit, and sends them down, and excludes them from regulatory fees and sends them down the normal non-commercial avenue. Greetings to everybody who has joined us, who is still with us. The chat is open. I'm hoping that it's working. Feel free to put your questions in there. I know we're talking about some deeply technical stuff here. And for right now, here's a little break in the action brought to you by your friends at Diet Pepsi. Kind of has a different taste than Coke. And also, too, the bottles stand up better. The center of gravity on these bottles are much better than the Coke bottles that seem to, like, knock over all the time. So that's what we've got there. Okay, so we've talked about 3, 4. Okay, also on the issue on the application fees, let's switch gears and go on to the amateur radio side, because right now, if you were to go through the proceeding for MD docket 20-270, you're going to see thousands of comments that were filed by individual amateur radio operators in that proceeding. Now, REC did take a position in this proceeding, and we really got down into the nitty-gritty of what the FCC is really paying to, is what their costs really are for processing an amateur radio application, going all the way from, because they use the batch filing system that the volunteer examiner coordinators have access to. And the whole process, the average amateur radio application that is filed through a VEC, through a, when you go and take a test and you pass the test, that never touches FCC human hands anywhere along the way. We've seen situations where a test session is conducted The test results are electronically sent from the local VE session to the VEC. Somebody at the VEC is actually monitoring for these incoming results coming in. They turn around, they certify the information, and they send it to the EBF system at the FCC. And we've seen situations where license applicants have received their call signs the same day that they took the test. That's what this has turned into. And you cannot say that it costs the FCC $25 to process that application and then another $25 to collect the fee. You cannot say that in this case. And that's our argument. You know, we said, look, if the FCC needs to collect on because some applications do get offline, they do have to go to human hands to handle. Although most of them that require human hands are the administrative updates that the FCC has. Most of them are administrative updates that the FCC is not gonna charge a fee for anyway, because they want people to update their addresses and such. The thing is if they change their name, if they do a name change, anytime you do a name change, you get married, you get married, you decide to use, you decide to use, you applied under Bob and now you want to do Robert, or gender transition or something that's going to cause a name change. Those all get offlined at the FCC, and they have to look at them. They have to look at the documentation. They have to look at the marriage papers, the name change paperwork and such. So yeah, the ones that are offline the most are the ones the FCC doesn't want to charge for. Go figure. So the ARRL came out and said, yeah, we don't want it. We don't want fees for any amateur radio. REC came out and said, look, our first preference is we want no charge. We want no fees at all. We cannot see justification for the fee. And but we said, look, if fees have to be charged, then the fees should be limited to renewals and vanity call sign requests. So, in other words, we should be rewarding achievement. And achievement is passing the test. We should be rewarding the achievement. And, and if somebody's there, 10 years later, and they want to renew their license for another 10 years, okay, $50. Or they want something special like a vanity call sign like KU3N. Guess what? $50 fee. Okay, that I don't see a problem with. The ARRL says, okay, if you're going to do a fee, exempt anyone under the age of 26. That creates a whole new can of worms and a whole new information collection can of worms it's a rabbit hole that I don't think the FCC is going to want to go down. And it's going to substantially delay this process because of all the new information collection that's going to be necessary. And it creates new havoc among the VECs, because what are we going to have to do now? How are we going to prove our age? Are we now going to have to include a photocopy of our driver's license or birth certificate now whenever we file? Okay, now we're talking about confidential handling of applications. This is not right. ARRL, you're way off on the mark on this. Really, the ARRL missed out on this totally. They were asleep at the switch when the Ray Bombs Act was being legislated back in 2017, 2018. Because nobody saw the specific exemption for amateur radio that exists in Section 159, which deals with regulatory fees, when the language in 158, which is what we're talking about right now of the Communications Act, is exactly the same, except that there isn't the extra comma in amateur radio operators, amateur radio licenses. So go figure. All right, let's see where we're at now. Okay, the other rulemaking, and we're going to get into some other stuff here after this. So stick with us here. If you're watching the rerun, just you got the scroll bar. Feel free to scroll. The other issue that just came up is MB docket. We're back to MBs now. 20-299, and that one is the foreign the disclosure of programming that's provided by a foreign government, and this came to be because of some recent dealings with the Russian and Chinese government. And it was controversy around the fact that the governments were buying time on radio stations, and what this rule wants to do is they want the listeners to know that the programming that they're hearing on the station was provided by a foreign government, whether it's Radio Sputnik or China Radio International or somebody like that. That's the idea is to disclose those things. One of the things I'm concerned about in this proceeding, and we will be talking about it when as the rulemaking comes up here, is my concern is in regards to the to our more allied nations that provide programming, and I can think of the NHK. I can think of the BBC. I can think of Deutsche Welle, RFI, Radio France Internationale. These are public broadcasters that are authorized by some mechanism within their federal governments. The BBC is under a Crown Charter. The NHK was created through legislation, and they can collect fees, because a lot of these do collect fees and such. And so where do we draw the line? And does this mean that if I'm running NHK World News, or I'm a PBS station and I've got NHK World running on one of my sub-channels like we have out here in Maryland, am I now going to have to run these disclosures that say this program was provided by the federal government of Japan? So these are the questions that are coming up, and so we'll be watching that one. Comments are due on that one on December 24th, and so there we go. Let's take a break and have some fun here. A little bit of fun here. Let's hope this thing works. We're going to take a little trip. Let's see if we can bring this up. First of all, we've been playing with, we've been getting some equipment coming into REC. And the donated equipment's coming in, and we appreciate it. Right now, we're desperately looking for Barracks Extremer boxes right now, the ones that send out. We desperately need Barracks boxes. Lots of them, like 6 or 7 of them would be great. If somebody knows what's going on, if somebody knows the stash of where these are at in some broadcast warehouse and they're able to get them, hey, donations to RECs are always appreciated. Look, we got a transmitter running. Yes, we do. This is our lab transmitter. We are currently running it right now, just so you know, just to be legit. This is running legit right now. because we're running it into a dummy load. We got a huge dummy load on this thing, and but yeah, this is the transmitter right here. It's a BW TX 300. Now this is a V2 model. All right, let's get out of that so I can run that over. Let me get out of that so I can try to run this over here on the. And we're gonna try an experiment here with this little Droid Cam program. So yeah, we're playing with toys right now. So bear with me here, and I'll tell you right now, the room here is a huge mess. Please bless the mess. But this kind of gives you an idea of what we have here at REC. On the top here is, if the picture will come into focus, it's our Rivendell automation system, and as we come down a little further, we've got our microphone that seems to want to swing around here, and there's the TX 300, and we have an RDS encoder in the box there. That's what it is. We've got a couple of pieces of equipment that have not been hooked up yet. We've got an Optimod FM down there, and we've got a pair of a 2-channel compressor limiter, and of course you got to have EAS. Remember, EAS has got to be in there. So yeah, as some of you may know, we do have EAS in the lab, and as you can see, we are putting out programming right now. And let's see if we can get that up. So right now we're running the Delmarva FM. We are running the... oh, I hate this camera. I hate this phone. This is evil. This is frickin' evil. But just to show y'all that we are legit, let's see if we can get a shot of that. Where is it? Come on. There it is. You can see back there, there's a dummy load. Yes, I'm the dummy who uses a dummy load. So there you go. So there you go. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and cut this off. Oh. Okay, there we go. And let's get rid of this Droid Cam. Go. Gone. Okay, so there you go. A really this Droid Cam software, and I don't know if it's maybe because I'm using the free version, or maybe this computer has slowed down or something. It sucks. It sucks really badly. I was hoping to use that to do like a live, like a remote cam, and it just didn't seem to work. Question: What happened? KBS on 87.7 in New York City. I don't know if something did happen. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the goings on there. We still, on the bigger issue, which is MB docket 03185, dealing with the Franken FMs, we've had no progress on that whatsoever from the FCC, and we are now 7-8 months out of the analog shutdown for low power TV, so we haven't heard anything on that yet. For those of you who've come along this far, we do have an announcement to make, and let me go ahead and see if I can get it up and see if we can get this working here. we are going to announce today that we have now online, let's bring it up. We now have online FM wide area availability maps. This is a new look into the availability of LPFM for a future window, which we're projecting, of course, is going to be sometime in possibly 2022, after the FCC gets through a good chunk of this NCE window. We are looking at a new window for LPFM down the road. And if you've used the NCE opportunity maps, these work kind of the same way. You can either, you can either select a latitude or longitude range anywhere in the CONUS, anywhere in the 48 states, or use the drop down to look at a particular area. Let's say we want to look at Los Angeles. So we're going to come up to California. We're going to look for Los Angeles, San Bernardino market. And we're going to go ahead and hit the Go There button. And this little map is going to show up. Now, the green dots are the area where there is good availability without the need of a second adjacent channel waiver. And there are channels that are predicted to not receive interference. Now, of course, in Southern California and anywhere where there's like that, we do have to warn too that there are grandfathered Class B stations that may show one way, but the reality is another. The MyLPFM tool does warn about grandfathered Class B stations. The blue area is area where no waiver is required, but all the channels may receive interference from somebody else, so there's still that possibility. The purple areas are areas where there's channels available, but all the channels require a second adjacent channel waiver. That's what the purple stands for. And I can tell you right now, some of that purple in Los Angeles, especially under where it says Simi Valley there, and on that whole west side, I'm going to say a lot of that should be red, because there is a very powerful grandfathered Class B station on 97.5. And a lot of availability is going to show up in Southern California on 97.5, and I am steering everybody clear from that because of the interference from KLYY out in Riverside, a very powerful Class B station that's on that channel. And then the red is no availability at all. And so as you can see, there is no availability at all in some areas there. So that's pretty much what we got going on there. Now we do have a separate map for Puerto Rico. And as you can see, Puerto Rico's availability is pretty much on the coasts, on the western and eastern coasts, and but nothing in the middle. Nothing on San Juan and Ponce, nothing in that area. Everything is going to be on the sides, and so yeah, so you can use that map. That map is available. We'll post a link to that in the Facebook. We'll have links to that in other places on the website. But yeah, you could play around with this map and have some fun with it and see where and you can see where LPFM stations are possible. Now this map is not updated in real time. This was a complete national, what we call ENAC, or Every Nook and Cranny report, which we looked at every single location, 1 degree increments, and this is the map that and this is what we showed. This map, the data that was necessary for these maps actually took about about 21 continuous days to process. That's how much information we had to go through to make these maps. And that's how precise they are. And yeah, you can zoom these maps, by the way. So, you know, you can come into Phoenix and say, okay, let's go into Phoenix. And let's look at the availability down here. And so we can look and see and say, yeah, you know, if you're in Phoenix, you know, if you're west of I-17, then you've got a better chance of getting a station than if you're, you know, east of I-17 or in Scottsdale or whatever. So this is to the point of where you can narrow this down to, and it just gives you a great idea of when the next window opens up, where you're going to be able to get a station. So that's what these maps are for, and we hope you use them, and we hope that you enjoy them and such. So just a reminder, we are starting to take shows of interest on the 2021 NCE window. If you are in an area where there may be an opportunity, the first thing you want to do is look at the NCE opportunity maps, and you know, pull up a location. Let's go back to Phoenix again. Let's look at it in the opportunity map. This is the NCE maps. I know they look the interface looks exactly like the other one, but here, take a look. If you're in an area that's not within a dot, you can forget about even thinking about a station, because there's not going to be anything available at that site. Anywhere where there's a dot, that requires further consideration, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be an opportunity there. It just means it's a potential opportunity. You still have to meet all the contours. But if you're in an area where there's no, you know, and those contours pretty much, if you're in the area without the dots, don't even bother, because there's not going to be anything available. That's pretty much how this works. So, all right. Any other questions from anybody on this? Let me get back onto a good shot there. And how many there? How many watts on the FM station? Well, we're running the transmitter right now at the minimum power, which is 30 watts transmitter power output. And the 30-watt transmitter power output is being operated into a dummy load that has a rating of 150 watts continuous. So we could run the we could run the dummy load at 100. You know, we can run the dummy load into that, and if I wanted to run this thing continuous, I could. I'm getting a perfect match on the system. Let's go back and look at so. All right, so let's go ahead and switch back to the browser here, and you're going to see right here that we're operating on 93.1 right now. We're running 30 watts. We've got no reflected power coming back because of the dummy load. So the dummy load's doing what it's supposed to be doing. We have an external MPX source because we're running off the MPX to go into the radio data system, the RDS encoder. So we're running the RDS encoder right now. We are still working on a way to. I still got to work on getting the serial port to work to interface with Rivendell. That is a project that we're going to be working on. You know, you've got your built-in processor and all that. I mean, it's a fairly simple system to use. And there's our audio meters. That's what's currently going out on the stream right now from. And there it is. Ah, relaxing. Okay, so there's Delmarva FM from that perspective. Now, let's see. I don't think I can do this. I don't think this will work, but this might even crash the system. Hopefully not. But let's see if I can bring up. See if I can bring up the SDR. Not sure if it'll let me do the SDR and this together, but we're gonna give it a try here. Let's see, does it work? Okay, we're getting that far. Now let me see if I can figure out how to screenshot that. Let's see, do I have a audio input? No, it's audio input. Oh, okay, let's try to add window capture. Oh, I do have some options available there. Okay, let's see what these do. SDR Uno. Okay, that brings up that screen. So there, we got, okay, so we got that at least we can play with right now. And that is the, that's the SDR software. And of course right now it looks like it's in the 40-meter band. So we need to play around with that. Let's take that up to 93,100. Boop. And there's our FM signal. Let me see if we can get something better to show up there. Window capture. Alright, let's see. What does SDR Uno 3 do? Oh, okay. There's one of our... that's this. Alright, and see, here we are. We're just doing some online experimenting, just having some fun here. You know. What a way to spend the pandemic. What does 2 do? Ah, there's a waterfall. Okay, so there's our transmitter right now. There it is right there. Just running, just zipping along right there. Now, for some reason, we are not getting the RDS coming up, and that might just be from me switching things around. I was hoping the RDS would come up, but we'll have to check that out and see why that's not happening. I think it might just be because we don't have something plugged in over there. But yeah, that is, and I can tell things are slugging here, so we're going to get out of the SDR. I would be very surprised if we have any kind of connection still right now. All right, back to the Mucci live shot there. So, so yeah, that's what we've got there. What about New York? New York is completely out for everything. Forget about New York. It's not going to happen. It's simply not going to happen. You know, you want a station in New York, then move out to Sag Harbor. Move out to Eastern Long Island, then you might have a chance. But yeah, forget about NYC. Forget about New York. Forget about Nassau County. Forget it. That area is just not going to happen. Eastern Long Island is the place to be. WLNG country. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, those are the days. All those great Pam's jingles on WLNG. So, so there we go. We've got a lot of stuff that's going on. We've got some new toys to play with. This obviously this is a holiday week, so REC is going to be in. Obviously, the FCC is going to be closed on Thursday. REC will be obviously shut down on Thursday. Friday, we are going to declare minimal operations. I will be somewhat around for anything that's breaking, but I think most of the FCC staffers are going to probably be on vacation that day. So I don't expect a lot done from the FCC. We'll still get it. We should still get a Federal Register issue. So of course we check that every day, and if there's something relevant on there, we will put something on Facebook. Good Morning Riverton from Riverton. That's what we do there. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do so. Those subscription numbers do help. You know, it also kind of motivates me more to actually want to do these. And I know we only gave about 2 hours of notice on this proceeding. Okay, you want to see New York? Okay, let me tell you what I am talking about here. Let's look at let's get the New York City map up here first, and then we'll go from there. All right, this is the NCE opportunity map for New York City area. As you can see, you know, there's not much there. Not much there at all around New York. Now, if you go into, you know, as you hit further south on, you know, along the Jersey Shore, yeah, then you're going to get into some stuff. And yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of opportunity there. I was talking about Eastern Long Island. Well, there it is right there. There's a little bit of opportunity right there. Let's see if we can get a better map to look at there. So did I say Sag Harbor? I think I mentioned Sag Harbor because that's where WLNG was. But yeah, I mean there's a small amount of opportunity. Let's go a little north here to see there's any more availability. Oh, we should have gone northeast there. Okay, Cape Cod. Looks like there's availability on on freaking Cape Cod. Martha's Vineyard. It looks like there's some opportunity. But yeah, some of these other places are pretty much no dice there. And as you go up through Connecticut, New Haven, and such, like I said, you're just too close to New York now. If we change that over to the let's look at the oh, no, I didn't want to do that. There we go. If we look at the LPFM map for New York City area, geez, look at all that red. Look at all that red. And then let's go further to the east into Long Island. And you know, and then see, this is what I'm talking about. You start getting some opportunity. There is some opportunity. Riverhead, I remember that song from one of the WLNG jingles from many years ago. And Hampton Bays. If you're in that area, yeah, you may have a chance for an LPFM. East Hampton, probably Shelter Island area up there. We'd have to pull up the other map to see that. But these are the so this is what it looks like in and around New York City. So again, you know, unless you're in Eastern Long Island, you can just forget about the New York area. And I'm not familiar with the culture out there. I don't know if people from Eastern Long Island even associate with themselves as being from like New York or the New York general area. I think Long Island is I think Long Island is a world among itself, kind of like how Jersey is. So there we go. So yeah, those are those are the those that that so that's what it looks like. And like I said, you can go on the line, you can go on the website, play with the maps, have fun with it, and see where things go. Islip, I think there. Let me go back and look at Islip here really quickly. Here, I didn't think there was. Oops, I may go to the right place and do this. Don't recall seeing anything for Islip, but let's check it out anyway. What's that little natch of blue right there? Yeah, a little. Oh, see, the thing is that that's all over the water. There's the mapping only does look at some of the boundaries, but doesn't necessarily take into consideration any of the inland waters. But you can see there's just a lot of red there, a lot of red in that area. And like I said, once you get further then back again to that area that we talked about there, that's further east. I'm guessing this is the Suffolk County area. I am not that fantastic on I'm not that fantastic on this New York City, New York area, metro area, and surrounding area geography as much as I am on Southern California. You know what I'll tell you, and Eva can attest to this, is one of my worst habits is watching the YouTube car chase videos. There's a couple of folks that lift the car chase raw footage from the local TV stations in Los Angeles, including the helicopter commentary. And I'm sitting there correcting them. And because there's they'll be saying, yeah, we're on the 118, we're on the 118 at Balboa, very close to Simi Valley, and it's like, don't do that to me, don't do that. Oh, don't torture me like that. So anyway, that's what we got going here. There's actually 2 people still watching this, and I'm really surprised that you're all putting up with me in this stuff. So anyway, that's where we're at right now, and we're about ready to do some more stuff. I really need to put together just a good, straight, non-live 101 type of video on the NCE window, and just get to the facts, not with all this incessant rambling. I mean, like I said, we just turn the thing on and we just watch it go when we do this. And I know this probably bores the hell out of a lot of you folks, and I know there's a few of you that like to sit around and listen, and I would love to do more fun stuff. But I wanted to get in here one more time to let you know that I'm still alive. I don't have COVIDs. Eva's doing fine. We're all doing fine here in Riverton. And that we're here. That we are here, and that we are still doing business as we normally do. This weekend, like I said, we may do some work this weekend. A couple of things we got to do this weekend is we got to work on. There's probably some bug fixes that we need to do in FCC data and in the ELMS backbone. We seem to be having some issues with the assignment applications coming in since they've switched everything over to LMS. Now, LMS has had its share of problems. As you know, the LMS system we recently got a new Form 318 for LPFM in there. There's a couple of new weird things in there that are added. such as the ability to, the site assurance, which is now a requirement, even on modifications. The FCC has confirmed that. And we just still and the directional antenna capability, which will probably rarely ever be used, and that would normally be used for second adjacent for international agreement and such. Just remember another thing too is if your station is located within 125 kilometers of Mexico, so if you're along that California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas strip zone there, and you're willing to put up a directional antenna, we can now do situations where a station can operate 50 watts in the direction of Mexico and up to 100 watts away from Mexico. That's something we fought for in that 19193, and we finally got it. So it's up and running. So the stations in Tucson, San Diego, Brownsville, Texas, Rio Grande Valley, El Paso, that area, get with me, and we can work on that. We can work on that with you. All right, so for now, if there's no more questions, you can contact me anytime. There's the phone number right there. Or you can email at lpfm@recnet.com. And with that, we wish you a fair adieu.